Potholes, sinking mountain highways, landslides, waterfalls, sharp turns, winding down the mountains, lack of light during the nighttime, and even cows in the middle of the street, or sloths. Costa Rica is not well known for their roads, or better to say, they are well known, but it's not gonna be one of the benefits of why you're coming to Costa Rica. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Emma, your Costa Rica guide for all travel tips, ideas, and information and lifestyle videos down here in paradise. Hope you're all doing well and welcome to my channel. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet subscribed, and hit that like button if you are interested in Costa Rica tips and ideas. Well guys, today we are here to talk about driving in Costa Rica. Now, really quick disclaimer, I'm a beginner driver. I barely drive at all, and it is quite possibly something that I may never do. I have even been a, what's the word, witness? No, well, a witness of many accidents, but also the victim of many accidents. So I can clearly say to you that the roads in Costa Rica are not the best, but I'm also not here to, you know, just do like a big doo-doo all over Costa Rica because, you know, I love living here and there's many wonderful things as well. So my biggest qualms about driving in Costa Rica are, well, I mean, the list is pretty long. So for me, the biggest problem really is not so much the natural aspects of driving in Costa Rica, but more or less a lack of control and regulation on the roads. So basically, a lot of the issue actually comes from drivers, and of course that's maybe a little obvious. The other side of things is that the highway, the main highway of the entire country, runs through the entire, you know, the entire piece of land that Costa Rica is. It's really just one big highway, and then all the towns are just kind of set around that. And it's complicated because at the end of the day, you're gonna have people walking on the highways, you're gonna have people on their horses on the highways, people on their motorcycles, and they're literally just coming off their farms and they have no, you know, they learned everything they learned in the country and they don't have the capacity, or they don't respect the rules, I guess, technically, right? So in talking about, like, you know, the regulations on the road and stuff like that, I personally know many people who drive without a license. I know people who intentionally do not get their license, and they drive cars that are not fit to be on the road. Like, they are not, they don't get passed by, what's it called? Riteve? They keep changing the name, DECRA. They don't even go. And these cars are like half falling apart. They're all like ghetto souped up for whatever reason. And you know, they're booming and crackling down the streets. And yeah, these are usually the people that tend to be driving like crazy as well, you know, passing on the highways or just in anywhere in general. Like, I live in a small town, and the amount of times that I'll just be crossing the street and oh no, there's a car rushing past the other one to come through, and like it almost hits me, and I'm just like, why are you doing this in a tiny town at 5 a.m? There is no real regulation at the end of the day. And when it comes to laws and regulation, when it comes to driving, there's two different types of police. So there's the police. Well, there's actually a few different levels of police. But there's the police, like the municipal police, and then there's the driving police, which we call them trafficos, if you want an English accent. And you know, they'll show up during holiday weekends. You'll find them a lot more in San Jose. They're almost always in the airport, waiting to try to get anyone who just stops for a quick second in the pickup section. But they almost never come out to small towns. And I think, honestly, many people might not agree with what I'm about to say, but it's really crummy that they don't come out here very often, because we get all of this mess of people driving illegally, doing really crazy and stupid things on the road. Luis's accident happened for that exact same reason. So, I mean, I have a lot of reason to not appreciate those kinds of people who decide to do these things and have a little bit of disrespect towards the traffic police because they just never show up when they're needed, which is unfortunate. And their job is technically to arrive on the scene at an accident. So yeah. And this also creates an issue in places like San Jose, where if you get into an accident on the highway and there's really only one way to go and you have to wait, like basically if you get into an accident, your car has got to stay there, stay in place, everything stays until the traffic police arrive so that they can do their job, investigate the situation, and then get things moving. But a lot of the times they will take a little while to get there, and then it creates this insane traffic. So like going to San Jose and seeing traffic, like you can almost guarantee it's because of an accident or because people are looking at something that may have happened. So yeah, a little bit complicated with that. And like all these people who are like driving crazy and stuff like that, this comes along with like drinking and driving, even though it's completely illegal here, you know, it still happens because small towns and all that fun, beautiful stuff that comes along with that. And yeah, the traffic police just they don't come here very often. And when they do, it's, you know, they come hard, and there's already WhatsApp groups that all these people who are crazy and doing the wrong things already know that they're coming and just won't leave the house with their car that day. So, kind of tricky, but what can you do? And then there's other things that happen on the road, like people will just stop wherever they feel like it, or they won't use their directional lights ever, really. It's very rare that they do. Or they'll pass you and they won't even put the directional, like they'll be on the other side of the road where there's oncoming traffic, and they won't even put their light to show you that they're coming through. Like they're just gonna come right between you and the big ass freight truck in front of you. They just don't. They just, oh, excuse me, I'm Mr. Hilux, so I'm gonna just squeeze right here just because I'm so small, right? It's a little bit crazy. I've heard other people in videos say it's very aggressive driving more than anything. Now that we've talked about weird things that happen on the road, let's talk about natural things, because there's a lot of stuff that happens too. Like there's that one main highway, and there's a lot of roads that are asphalted now, but there are also many roads that are not, and they're just completely like dirt, rocks, even riverbeds I've seen. Yes, you probably need a 4x4 for a lot of them. I've been to an Airbnb where they've told us that we need to get there with a 4x4. Not even with my feet would I have tried to do that. Like that was like, it was literally meant for a waterfall, not for cars. There's landslides a lot of the time, and most of these things are probably gonna be more relative to rainy season. So in the rainy season, you definitely wanna have a little more care when driving, because it rains a lot and it really saturates the earth and it creates mudslides, landslides, even waterfalls coming down onto the highway, major flooding, bridges get completely washed out. So definitely be aware when you are coming here, and if you might hear that there's like a storm passing through or something like that, maybe try to avoid tricky driving scenarios or driving too much like through the mountains and stuff like that, because it could become a little bit dangerous. Another thing about nature on the roads is that you may never know what might lie ahead of you. There could be sloths on the road. I see a lot of roadkill, and it's really quite sad, because one of the most common animals that I see as roadkill is anteaters, and they are like so adorable, and they're big, like almost like a dog, like a medium to big sized dog, and they're white and black and fluffy, and they're just so cute, and they're not very good with their vision. So at night, the trucks come flying through, and you know, they get them, and it's unfortunate. So yeah, if you care about animals, you definitely want to go a little slower, especially in the more rainforesty type areas like Osa, Uvita, even between Tarcoles and Jaco, because there's the Carrara Park. So yeah, you definitely want to be more aware. You definitely want to be more aware of that kind of stuff. Even in my case, I have had cows run out in front of the cars, and we got into an accident and that was not fun. I was definitely down and out for like 2 weeks. I'm fine, but I did really mess up my shoulder. So yeah, just be careful, especially at nighttime, because that was like a cow just ran out onto the road at night. Many people say, don't drive at night, don't try to do it. I have mixed feelings about this because I oftentimes prefer to go and do my traveling at night because it is so much faster. And I'm not saying like you're gonna go flying down the highway, but I just mean there is no traffic, there's no people like tourists and local tourists just stopping to look around and all that kind of stuff. There's less accidents in the sense that there's less cars on the road. So it's a lot better in that sense, and you just get to your destination a lot faster and a lot more smoothly. However, the grand however is that yes, you do have to be a lot more careful because a lot of roads in Costa Rica don't have sufficient lighting. If the weather's not great, you're gonna see even less. The potholes are not gonna be necessarily easy to spot at night, and like there's a lot of potholes along the way to certain places because of all the rain. The asphalt doesn't last very long. And animals, of course, animals are gonna be more on the road, and fog. So I've had this problem quite a few times now where we'll be driving and it's either extremely foggy outside, like you can maybe see a couple feet, a couple meters ahead of you, and then like the lights in the distance, the street lights in the distance. And then there's also the effect of what happens inside your car. If you use air conditioning inside your car and it's very warm and humid outside, your car will start fogging up and it takes forever to get rid of. It's very difficult to deal with the situation. You can't see shit. And it's frustrating because, you know, you're trying to battle something that's literally just climate based, and as much as you put the anti-fog button, it will take a very long time to get rid of. I've dealt with it several times and it's just a part of driving at night. Another thing you want to be very careful of is like trees falling down. Like I said earlier, the mudslides and stuff like that. And actually, in Punta Arenas, the last time that we went, we saw they built this giant net over this like rocky cliff, and it catches boulders because someone had been killed by a falling boulder. I mean, that happened during the day. There's little things about nature that you just can't control here, and you just have to really expect the unexpected. Motorcycles are horrendous here. Like, a great majority of the country has motorcycles because it is way cheaper in gas, and I mean, to get your insurance, I don't think it's much cheaper because it's, you know, more risky, but the gas is much more economic for the people here. And I have seen just horrendous videos. People who go on motorcycles seem to think that they can just weave around whatever they feel like, and they're not very careful. And they go very fast a lot of the time too. Or they'll try to stack on like every family member they can onto the motorcycle, or as much weight as they possibly can to get where they need to go with their stuff. And yeah, I have seen videos on WhatsApp that are just so gruesome, because that's like a thing here. People, I don't know how do they do it, but I remember before I moved here, I would always see people that I knew on Facebook here posting things about death or someone who got into an accident. And it's very common for people here to post pictures of it or post videos of what just happened, and it's like, oh, I just see spaghetti all over the ground now. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that. I've seen a lot of motorcycle spaghetti. Yeah, people are just really a little bit too crazy here, and it's very, at this point, I feel like it's very normalized for the mentalities of people who live here in general, that this is what happens, and I just feel like they don't take it as much of a big deal as a lot of people might. So yeah. Like I said earlier, the highway is basically the main road that goes through half the country. And it's weird because you'll see literally like people walking on the side of the highway, people on their bikes. I've seen even little girls walking to school by themselves on the side of the highway. And it baffles me. There's even bus stops on the highway, and it's weird because I don't know how those people necessarily get there. I mean, I've also seen people try to cross the highway, so. And then, yeah, like the motorcycles will be like riding right in the center or right on the side of the road, just making it basically impossible to either pass them safely or they're just not in a safe situation. The speed limits here, really, people don't pay attention to them at all for the most part. I've seen so many Americans and North Americans come here and they say, oh, that person's going so fast, or I have to go at the speed limit, or you know, they're very concerned about the speed limit. And you know, then you've got a local right behind you, or someone who lives here, not even necessarily like a Tico, but just anyone who's been living here for a fair bit of time, will be like trying to get around you with all their might. I think a lot of people get intimidated by driving here, but you get used to it over time. Yeah, maybe eventually I will become a driver here. I mean, I'd love to just get like a big 4x4 Jeep and just like humble around where I want to go, but eventually, maybe. Oh, one more thing that I have noticed that really frustrates the heck out of me, and you know, I'm no engineer in city design or anything like that, but one thing that just drives me crazy, and this is actually, I've noticed it from going to the hospitals in an ambulance, for the exits and entrances to the highways, or like certain highway shoot-offs, I guess, it's so frustrating to me because there's one part where you go on, you're connecting onto the highway, like you're going up a ramp, and then the highway's like here. So you're going here, and then the exit to get off that highway is right in front of it. So basically you've got all of these people coming in trying to get into the highway, and then all of these other people crossing right over. It's like literally like everyone's just like weaving around each other, and the people who are trying to get out are trying to go this way, and the people who are trying to get on are going this way, and it's just a nightmare. That's the way it is. Yeah, the roads are not very pedestrian friendly either, and there's no sidewalks for a great majority of places. So people just walk on the road and cross when they can, or whenever they just force their way through. I've also seen complaints about how there's no road names, there's no proper directions of where you need to go, etc., etc., which can be confusing for some. I highly recommend you use Waze. Waze is really good for that. It tells you where to go. I mean, there's been a few times where it just throws you for adventure time, but it's better than nothing. It's better than dealing with your own resources at that point. On the highways here, there's roundabouts. And for me, again, I think it would be much smarter to just put a traffic light instead of having people who like to weave and pass each other to just fend for themselves. But yeah, there's a lot of roundabouts here, and the person who is already in the roundabout has the right of way, of course. And for me, it scares the crap out of me because like you're trying to get into it, then there's another like massive truck coming and they'll just cut you off like when you could have had time to get in, or like, you know, it'll just come right behind you and like, hi, taking your place now. And these trucks are huge, so like they're taking up the entire roundabout basically, as much as they can turn. And yeah, people are just a little bit vicious on the road. But hey, I think there's many worse places to be driving, and half the time, I don't think most of you are gonna be in the city unless it's for something very specific, or you know, you're just about to leave anyway. So, a lot of the other driving is very relaxed. If you're in a smaller town, nothing really to worry about. Just take your time and be very reactive and be aware of your surroundings, because things will just happen as always. And yeah, I think that's really it. If you guys have any questions about what it's like to drive down here, or what things that I've seen, or any experiences that you guys might have had, please do let us know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you want more Costa Rica tips and travel ideas, and I will see you guys real soon. Thanks so much, guys. Ciao!